So, parents, now that you know how difficult it is to understand when you are have a hearing challenge, and you have just gone through this whole process. So, let us today we have with us Sunny Shah and Sukanya Gupta, who are adults who have gone through this journey and who are on cochlear implant and hearing aids, and they will share with us how they figure out things, what it is like for them, because we can only at best understand, at best we can guess. Okay, but what it is really like, these adults can tell. This will be a great, give a lot of insights for our young listeners who are on cochlear implant or hearing aids. So it will be very, very beneficial. Uh, we need to understand from them how they have figured out things, what are the challenges that they face, and what other the community can do to support. Okay, so Sunny here is doing masters from Stanford University, and Sukanya is a special educator with Bethany School in Bangalore. So could you just tell a little more about yourself, Sunny and Sukanya?
Yeah. So I have had cochlear implants on both the years for around 15 and 19 years. And I'm currently doing my second year's master's at Stanford. And I did my undergrad in US as well. And right now I'm currently looking for jobs. And I also have founded a support group for deaf adults. We talk about different challenges that we face and how we help each other. And that support group has also been helpful because it's allowed me to find people like Sukanya. And we talk about all the different challenges that we face, about how each and everybody has come up with their own strategies about solving different problems. So we learn from each other and we also work together in creating awareness in the world.
Awesome. That is the purpose of this, video that we're going to make, so that everybody doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. We can progress from whatever brilliant students like you, people like you have already done. Let's learn from them and maybe create something more on that. So, Kanya, I would like to hear from you now.
So I'm Sukanya. I'm in Bangalore right now. I live alone here, which has been a challenge as someone who is deaf. I work at Bethany High School as a special educator in the LEAP department. I did my undergrad in human development, followed by a B.Ed in special education from Spastic Society of West Bengal, or now IICT. So I also run an Instagram page. It's called Deaf in a Pandemic, which where I basically talk about the accessibility issues that we face in India. So so that's how Sunny actually found me, and then I was able to, and Sunny's group was an amazing group that I was able to join, and I was able to meet people who face the same problems as me. So that has been a huge help to kind of
Elaborate a little more
people with
what
similar
are
experiences.
what are
Sorry?
the accessibility issues? Could you elaborate a little more?
Yeah. So now that we're home, we really rely on things like Swiggy and Dunzo and all the delivery apps, or even when we get something delivered from Amazon or wherever. So the biggest problem is, so I have a lot of things mentioned in instructions and my address, where it says specifically not to call me since I am deaf. I have even gone so far as to print out pictures of, rather than using language, because there is a language barrier. So I print out pictures of all the common delivery apps that I use, and I've stuck it outside my door, and I have indicated where that I just put it down where I indicated where things need to be kept. So this information is given both in my address, in instructions, and outside my door. Yet everyone will call me. They will stand outside my door, they will call me just to ask where am I supposed to put it, or they will stand outside the building and ask me where they're supposed to come, and this becomes really, really difficult. So, and this is just one thing. So I have been discriminated against thankfully, because I'm older now and I have learned to advocate for myself, I do call them out. So there are a bunch of things that has happened over time which I have addressed in my account, and I have put it there so that other people can, they will learn to understand that, you have to advocate for yourself. And I also want to call out these companies who do it, because otherwise they will never include these accessibility options. I
Yes.
can give you one example: Book My Show. So before the pandemic, I used to use it a lot, and there were certain times and it didn't at the time include which theaters have closed captioning. So there were a couple of times where I would go to the theater and they wouldn't have it, and then when I reached out to them, and it was honestly a waste of money for me. So when I reached out to Book My Show, they gave me a million excuses. So like, you can call them. Like, how am I supposed to call them when I'm deaf? So we went over back and forth. I was not happy with the resolution they gave me at the time. They told me to wait. Recently, I don't know why, I just downloaded it, and I had this conversation with them maybe 2 years or 2, 3 years ago. And recently, I found out they actually started mentioning which theaters and what timings will include closed captioning. So it does change things. It takes time. It takes a lot of, you have to kind of fight. You do have to fight for your rights here. But eventually, yes, a lot of them do change. Same thing has happened with Swiggy. I had reached out to them over and over and over again over the past 1 year. Things haven't changed the way I wanted it to. Eventually, they did get back to me and say they are working on including a chat option. Unfortunately, they have done made that change. Unfortunately, the chat option is not available for all delivery partners. That's the first thing. Secondly, when I did reach out on the chat option, where I got only for one delivery partner so far, they did not respond. So it's a very slow kind of a process where you have to keep, you know, bugging them and making them make that change. So it can get extremely tiring, but it is worth it, because I am not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it for everyone, all the people who come after me, who are deaf right now, the children who are deaf, obviously, and of course the
Parents,
adults.
those who are listening, I would like to highlight, because of the efforts of Sukanya, now at least Book My Show can, show which theaters and which timings will have closed captions. Okay, so thank you so much, Sukanya, for giving this gift to, such a big community. I would really like to, applaud you for this. And parents, see, the thing is, what I would like to, taking cues from what Sukanya is sharing, that, she has been doing it. Let's all do it wherever possible. Just talk about it, that okay, please start this is helpful for a community which is on hearing aids, or which is on or maybe just sign language. So it is important for this community, so please do it. So wherever possible, like, this is my appeal to all of you, whichever, wherever you have connections, wherever possible, see to it that, these things are included, because that is what is actually the inclusive society. We talk about inclusive society, but then we don't create mechanisms and for it to be as much inclusive. So thank you so much, Sukanya, for giving this Book My Show gift for all of us. And all of us, let's do it. Let's do it, wherever possible. Take up one app or something, and where you can make a difference. And especially if you know the owners, I will do it myself. I will do it. I'll start doing it, because I know one company, and I will talk to them and make life possible. And then once I've done it, and I'll share it here. Yes, Sukanya, continue. So actually, what
That
happens?
is
See,
fun.
this is the accessibility part. Lot of problems children are facing with online education. Online, it has been on for 1.5 years almost, and now that they are saying they are opening physical school, but it will be on a hybrid mode. Okay, so there also, earlier, if in Google Meet, whichever schools are on Google Meet has closed captions. But Zoom, whichever schools are on Zoom doesn't have closed captions. Okay, then how do, and sometimes there's a lot of connectivity issue. Sometimes teachers or children, they close their camera and switch off their video and then talk. So how difficult it is, you must be facing these problems. So what do you do, and how difficult it is for you when the cameras are closed, switched off?
So what I usually do is, if someone has their camera off, I try and ask them to communicate via chat as much as possible, but which is something that not doesn't always happen. So what I have done is, those who have their cameras on, often I have to turn to them and I have to ask them what was said by the person whose camera is turned off. And one thing I wanted to mention about the captions is, so I use my school uses MS Teams, so it does have live transcription, it has live caption, but as with, I would say, pretty much any app or any website, the captions that they have is not very reliable, because it depends on whether your speech is clear, what kind of an accent you have, what was, and it doesn't pick up on Indian words as easily. So that it can be a little easier to have the captions on. It doesn't help as much as I would like it to. So I often have to rely on someone else and ask someone else for help when this happens.
Yes.
Yeah, so in these situations, so right now at Stanford, all my classes are in person and some of the office hours are held online. So for the office hours, there are no captions provided, and I'm okay with that. But what I always make sure to do is to just look at what the professor is writing down, because most of the classes that I take are math, so I just have to follow the formulas and stuff, and ask the TAs to put down summaries in the chat box. So that also helps, especially in group discussions. I remember I had to do one group discussion for this one class that I'm taking, and the classroom was so noisy, and everybody in class has to wear a mask. It's mandatory for all of us. So everybody wearing a mask, and the entire classroom, everybody's noisy. I couldn't hear a single word, not even after wearing implants for almost 20 years. So I had to go up to the professor myself and say that, hey, I'm deaf and I use cochlear implants. And you know how noisy it gets in here. The professor knows that nobody can hear her when everybody's talking. So she can understand where I'm coming from. So I told her, is there any way I can I can have an alternative to the group discussion? So she said, okay, let's go out in the corridor and have the discussion ourselves. And in the corridor, it was so much quieter. So those kind of tricks and solutions.
You had a one-on-one with the teacher in the corridor.
Yeah.
See, this is the beauty, if you ask for it, people help. Everybody wants to help, but you have to ask for it. This is what I keep telling all the parents, that you have to ask for it. See, it won't occur naturally to them. It won't occur naturally unless because they have not gone through this life. So you have to ask, and it's your right. There's no shame in asking, because that's your right. You need it. So
one thing that I also want to add to this point is that in asking for such help, you are not being a burden, because I have grown up with that mentality and it is not helpful. So you are not being a burden. You're just asking for the playing field to be level.
Level playing field. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that you can do as well as everybody else in your classroom. So it's not about you taking advantage or anything like that. It's just making sure that everybody's on the same level field. So if people make you think that you are being a burden, then you need to educate them and explain to them that, it's not easy living a deaf life, and that, it's very hard, and try and make them understand where our struggles come. So then in doing so, hopefully they'll be able to make things better for us. But the important thing
is in the mindset also. A lot is in the mindset also. We keep feeling that I will be a burden on others. The other doesn't feel. It's in our
Exactly.
minds also many times. Okay, how can I ask? How can I keep on asking? That's your requirement. That's your need. And these basic
Exactly.
needs everybody needs to have. Everybody is entitled to these basic needs, right?
Yeah, and then like not only that, also like it's also about, like self advocacy, because that's very important. When your child is very small, they won't be able to advocate. They won't be able to understand how precious the hearing devices are, or how expensive they are. It's only later when they realize how sensitive the hearing devices are. So in the beginning, parents may have to advocate more on
Yeah.
the child's behalf. But as the child grows older and older, the child has to learn to advocate. You are not being a burden when you're asking for help. It's just living a deaf life, I feel. It's just a different way of living life as compared to someone who's hearing. So it's you cannot expect me to live the same exact life as a hearing person. I have to live life on my own terms. And in order to do that, I have to go and ask for help, because other people are not mind readers. So we have to tell them that, hey, here's the problem. This is what I cannot do. Is there a way we can come up with a solution to circumnavigate this issue? So that's a really
Absolutely.
helpful.
And one more thing, as Sunny, you said that, children, small children, they don't know how important these hearing devices are. Another thing that they don't know is that it's their right to understand everything that is said. What happens is they get complacent, they get comfortable with understanding only half the things. They get
Because
comfortable with it. Okay,
that for them, they think that is reality. When they get
yes,
older, they realize how much
Exactly.
information they're missing out on.
yes,
I think Sukanya might have something to add.
Yeah,
yes,
so I agree with what Sunny said. When you are deaf, that is your reality. You don't know any other. You don't know there is a person who is hearing, who can hear everything else. You think this is how everyone else is surviving. So why should you have to ask for help when no one else is? You don't have the perspective, okay,
absolutely.
that this person is hearing, they can hear better than you. You don't have to, even if you know if you're deaf, you're not really aware of this reality. And what happens a lot of times is when a child gets a hearing aid, they get this belief, and some parents also believe this, whether it's a hearing aid or a cochlear implant. Now that they have this device, it's like glasses. I've heard this
Yes,
analogy so many times. Hearing
yes.
aids are like glasses. They are not. They are not even close. Even
Hmm.
after you get hearing aids, even after you get cochlear implants, we still rely on a lot on all the other listening strategies that we were using before we used them. It's slightly better. You can hear more sound now. It's a little easier, but it is definitely not the same as wearing glasses. So we are not able to hear everything. And that is why you stop asking for help. You don't ask for help. You think that, again, as I said, that you think that, okay, now that you have all the help that you need because they're like glasses. So that is also another reason where I've seen a lot of parents who do this as well. They say that, okay, this is what my parents did. So you got this hearing aid, now you shouldn't need to ask for help.
Yep.
And it really sticks with you, but it gets in your head, and it ruins your self-esteem. It brings it all down, and after that it's a long journey to like come back and start to understand that, okay, this is not the kind of belief that you should be having, because it doesn't work like that.
Believe me,
Exactly.
I can understand every word that you're saying because I'm a life coach. And most of these belief systems are so strongly ingrained. That is in the childhood. That is how the child lives his entire life. Okay. It's not just with hearing impairment, it's for anything. Everything else is fine, but certain belief systems. It's like, if parents they say things like, paise ped pe to nahi ugte. That means, you know, that is a belief system and it gets so strongly ingrained that, later on also the person has this kind of a relationship with money, that it's not easy to get money. And when you have this kind of a relationship with money, that it is not easy to get, you will find it very, very difficult to get. So this is one analogy that I've given. It's like hundreds of belief systems. So it's very important. My appeal to all the parents is, please be very mindful of the words that you are using, of what you are saying to your child, because that is how you're putting it into the belief system, and then it will be very difficult for your child to come out of this belief system. The kind of belief system that you need to give to your children is that they can do everything. They are limitless, they are a no limit child, and they can do everything just like anybody else. This one belief system, if you put it very, very strongly in the child's brain or belief system, they will be able to fight everything else. It is so powerful. So this is very, very important what Sukanya said, that it is the analogy. People think that devices तो लगी हैं, अब क्यों नहीं सुन रहे? So it is like, कि maybe
Magical devices. Like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I had something to add to this. Like, after I got my implant, like I think for a good 7-8 years, like my mom was there with me in therapy after I got my implants. So she knew that I was not able to hear as well as I did before my implant with my hearing aids. Because she knows the difference in my speech and stuff. But the other people haven't seen me in therapy. They haven't seen the hard work that I have put in. So then they assume that, oh, you're wearing your devices, you should be able to hear now. It's not easy. Once you get your switch on, or once you get your hearing aids, it's not like a switch button where you just switch on and then your speech becomes automatically clear or something like that. It takes years. I think it took me a good 6-7 years to actually get comfortable with my implants, and it took me at least it basically took me a long while to get to this point where I am able to use both my implants. I'm able to use one implant at a time in case of emergencies. But the point is that life does become easy with cochlear implants, but I still have to do a lot of efforts in listening and understanding the world. Like I was explaining to my sister, we were having, after my implants, we would have fights. She would be like, oh, you're wearing your cochlear implants. You should be able to hear me now. I don't have to repeat myself. Then later, as we grew older, I had to sit her down and make her understand that, yes, I do have cochlear implants, but it does take me a lot of efforts to actually sit down, pay attention to you, process what you're saying, and then, excuse me, and then understand what you're telling me. It's not so easy. This is also another thing that I wanted to tell parents. Like a lot of my friends, hearing friends, or a lot of my cousins and my sisters, they can do multiple things while hearing. So they would put on not music, but they can put on audio books, or they are driving in a car and then they're having conversation with people side by side. I can't do that, because for me to actually have a conversation with you, I actually have to use my brain in listening to you, which means I cannot be driving a car at the same time as I'm talking to you. It's not that easy. So that's something that parents should keep in mind, that it listening is still a conscious effort. It will never come unconsciously, as it may come to hearing people. So that's something I wanted to bring up as well.
Absolutely. I wanted to add something onto that, the multitasking thing that Sunny is talking about. This is so true in a school setting. When you're a student, and what happens is classes is the teacher gives you notes or talks about something or explains something or dictates something, and you're supposed to take it down, or you're supposed to take note. You can't do that. You can do one thing at a time. Either you can listen or you can take notes. It is impossible for someone with moderate to severe or severe hearing, maybe not so much with someone with mild hearing loss, But for someone with moderate, severe, even profound hearing loss, that is impossible. Like, I'm not even going to mince words here, it is impossible. If you're listening, you can't write. If you're writing, you're missing out on a lot of things that are being said.
So, Kanya, do you want to elaborate why it is difficult?
Yeah. So, as I said, as I did not say, as Sunny was partly mentioned earlier, so when we are listening to someone, we are not just hearing what they're saying. There are a lot of steps to it. We are hearing the person, maybe one word. We can only hear one word here and there. We are looking at their lips. We're lip reading. Now you have to remember that lip reading is not a science. You don't just look at someone's lips and understand everything that is said, because a lot of words sound similar. People's lip movements can be similar, but the lip movements differ slightly from person to person, which can make it confusing. So you also look at their facial expression, you look at their body language. So out of it, maybe you can understand. Sunny, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, like I just wanted to add. So, when we are talking about facial expression and body language, that helps us in distinguishing whether someone is asking us a question or whether someone just said some good news for which we have to pretend to be happy. Like, yay, happy birthday or something. But I have done that a lot. I am going to be guilty and say that, yeah, I have done
Yes.
that a lot. Like having to look at people's expression and kind of guess what my reaction should be. So be careful about that with your children as well. So, like, make sure that they actually understand what's happening. I understand it may be frustrating because my mom was frustrated with me at every now and then. My sister was frustrated with me every now and then. But now they understand that, it's just who I am. And if I'm sort of mirroring people's behavior and not
Yes.
giving my genuine reactions, that's when they know I'm actually not understanding. And then they repeat it for me to make sure that I know what's happening. So that's something that you can help include your children in the world. But coming back to the topic, so like, in addition to, body language, facial expressions, lip reading, there's also the context that matters. So if someone is using the word bear versus pair, oh, like a bear attacked a boy in the woods, like, would it be a bear attacked the boy in the woods, or is it bear attacked a boy in the woods, or is it the fruit pear? Because there are three words that can fit: bear, pair, and pair. I don't know if you can make out the
Yes,
distinction.
yes, yes, yes.
Because
Absolutely.
as a
I
deaf
can't.
person, I would never be able to
Because
make out
I
the
can't.
distinction. So it's like I have to go through all the possible different combination of words and pick out the one that makes a lot of sense. Which is
There's
why
a lot
Yes.
of
in class,
thinking involved and understanding each and every sentence. So it's like, you have to, a lot of observation required, a lot of thinking, mix and match, putting the context. Obviously, it's going to take time. And we need to sensitize the teachers about it. It's so important, because if the teacher doesn't know, she will just think that this person is not paying attention, is not understanding. They can even say things which are not, which can hurt the child, emotionally hurt the child. They can say things like that. So it's the duty of you parents to sensitize the teachers. This is what is happening. They have to do all this to be able to understand one sentence.
exactly. So in classroom, we cannot write notes and listen to the professor. I am taking a PhD level statistics course, and the professor goes really fast in his explanation and writing everything. And fortunately, the university has given me a note taker, so I get notes after class every day. So that way, I don't have to focus on the professor. Like, I don't have to write down what he's saying. I can just focus on what he's actually saying, process everything, because it's a PhD level course and my statistics isn't that great. So I have to do a lot of catching up and understanding the concepts and stuff like that. So for parents, it might be helpful if you teach your kid to ask someone to give their notes, or to make friends who can give you notes, because that can be very helpful. I
Yeah, see, one more,
I
again and again, we are coming to the same point that you have to ask for help. You have to ask. So if Sunny had not asked for the notes, they would have never known that he needs it. Now he can be relaxed that, okay, I don't have to put out the notes. I just have to focus, mix all these elements and understand what is being said to at least a 70-80% level.
Yes.
Just one thing I wanted to add to that. So in special education, what they teach you is, not as a teacher in special education training, what they teach you is, when you're working with a child who is deaf, you are supposed to provide them notes before the class begins. Because then when you are talking in class, when you're explaining in class, the child has an idea what you're talking about. It is easier to form that context that Sunny was talking about. So
Exactly.
this is not always done. So again, it's very important
Never
to
done.
ask for it.
Never done.
So, like, this is
Just
what
ask for
my
it.
mom did when I was a small kid. She went relentlessly to class with me. Like, she would have after school meetings with teachers, and she would ask them to give notes or tell her which chapters we would be studying the next day or next week. So that before that, she would go through those chapters with me, so that by the time class happens, I know that okay, this is the word that they're going to be using. Because like in science class or in biology, physics, English, history, you're going to come up across all these different jargons, and it's going to be very difficult. Because let's be honest, when you come across a brand new word, it's going to be close to impossible for me to understand anything. Anytime someone introduces their name, if it's not a common name that I don't know, like, Nirmit or Sunny, or, like common Indian names and stuff like Amit and stuff like that, then I'm going to have to ask you to spell your name, because then I won't be able to know what your name is and I might mispronounce it. So imagine that, but for all these complicated words that you come across in science. So going through the lectures beforehand also helps a lot.
Okay. So can we together, the three of us, let's list down everything and give it to the parents. And okay, these things are required. So you can talk to the teachers. Today we have discussed so many things, and it went very fast. So let's, we'll have to probably rewind and then, list down everything, or, whatever we are sharing, each one of us. Let's make a document which can be used for all parents. Can we do that?
I think there's a couple of documents out there, but I'm not sure. But I was thinking of creating that documents for
Let's
your
create it. Let's create it.
Okay.
It will be helpful to so many.
Okay. So then, did you want to add more?
Okay. So today we're going to finish this session right here, because there's lots. Everything that you guys are saying, I am thinking of, a whole episode can be made on this. A whole episode can be made. It's so deep. But I'm really thankful to both of you to have come and have shared, given so many insights for parents, and, so many things we can do with this knowledge that you have shared with us. So this document we are creating together, and till the time we meet again and bring something more which can help parents, it's bye-bye time. It was great to have you both.
You too.
Thank you.